Hi everyone. 28F, never thought I'd be here writing this, but I really need to get this off my chest. My world literally turned upside down last week and I don't even know where to begin. I've been married to James, 30M, for 5 years, together for 7. We met during our junior year of college at a mutual friend's party. He was charming, funny, and seemed different from other guys I'd dated. He was studying photography and business, while I was doing accounting. We started dating after he asked me out 3 times. I kept saying no because I was focused on my studies, but he was persistent in a sweet way. Our relationship moved pretty fast after that. We moved in together during senior year, and he proposed right after graduation. Everyone said we were perfect together. His family loved me, especially his mom Karen. She was always talking about how I was the daughter she never had, how I balanced James out, and how we were going to give her beautiful grandchildren. His sister Rachel and I became close too. We'd go shopping together, have wine nights, all that stuff. My family was a bit more cautious at first. My sister Sarah never fully warmed up to James. She said something felt off about him, but I brushed it off as her being overprotective. My parents came around after seeing how happy I was. Dad even pulled some strings to help James get his first job at his friend's marketing firm. The first few years of marriage were great, or at least I thought they were. We both had good jobs, bought a house in a nice neighborhood, went on vacations together. James was always taking pictures, it was his hobby, and I thought it was cute how passionate he was about photography. He had this whole setup in our spare room with editing software and everything. I never questioned why he needed 3 laptops for his photography work. I was just proud he had a creative outlet. Everything changed last week. I was working from home because my office was being renovated. My laptop started updating in the middle of an important project, so I asked James if I could use his. He was at work, but he always left one of his laptops at home. He'd given me the password months ago, saying he had nothing to hide. When I opened it, I noticed a folder on the desktop labeled Personal Studies. Being married for 5 years, I didn't think twice about opening it. We'd always been open with each other about everything. But what I found made me physically sick. There were subfolders with dates, and inside were pictures of James with different women. The most recent one showed him making out with a young woman at what looked like a bar. She was sitting on his lap, and they were clearly very comfortable with each other. The timestamps show the pictures were from 3 months ago, right around the time James started working late on a big project. There were dozens of pictures from different angles, some selfies, some looked like they were taken by someone else. He'd even written notes under some of them, like first kiss with Emma, felt exciting in second meeting, less nervous this time. I sat there staring at the screen for what felt like hours. I found more folders with more pictures, going back at least 6 months. Each had similar notes, like he was documenting every moment. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely scroll through them. I confronted him as soon as he got home. I didn't yell or scream, I was too shocked for that. I just turned the laptop around and asked him to explain. His response left me speechless. He said, completely straight-faced, that he was conducting a personal study on relationships and commitment. He took the pictures so he could look back at them later and evaluate his feelings about monogamy. When I asked if he was serious, he launched into this long explanation about how he'd been feeling constrained by marriage and wanted to document his experiences to help him decide if he wanted to stay married or explore other options. He said he was being responsible by thoroughly analyzing his feelings before making any decisions about our marriage. The more he talked, the more surreal it felt. He actually tried to convince me that this was normal, that plenty of married people do research like this. When I told him this was cheating, plain and simple, he got defensive. He said I was being narrow-minded and selfish, that I wasn't considering his emotional journey. He even had the nerve to say that since he hadn't slept with anyone, allegedly, it wasn't really cheating. I packed a bag that night and went to Sarah's place. She took one look at the pictures and recognized the woman, Emma from James's office. Apparently, Sarah had seen them having lunch together multiple times but didn't think much of it since James had always talked about Emma as just a colleague. Finding this out made me wonder what else I'd been blind to. James has been blowing up my phone since I left. His messages range from angry, saying I'm overreacting and trying to control him, to apologetic, claiming he'll delete all the pictures and never do it again, to philosophical, going on about how marriage is a social construct and we should redefine what commitment means. I filed for divorce on Monday. James completely lost it when he got the papers. He showed up at Sarah's house at midnight, drunk and crying about how I was destroying our marriage over a simple misunderstanding. Sarah had to call the police to get him to leave. Then he started telling people at work that I was the one who cheated first and he only took those pictures as evidence. Since we work for the same company, different departments, this got back to HR pretty quickly. They called me in for a meeting about the hostile work environment James was creating. That's when I decided enough was enough. I forwarded HR the pictures from his laptop, the ones taken in the office parking lot, along with screenshots of his admission about why he took them. Turns out documenting your makeout sessions on company property is against several company policies. James got suspended pending investigation, and now he's panicking. He says he'll have to use all our savings to hire a lawyer to fight the company's decision. He's been calling me constantly, begging me to tell HR it was all a misunderstanding. But I'm done covering for him. He made his choices, now he can deal with the consequences. Right now, I'm still staying with Sarah, trying to figure out my next steps. His family keeps calling, telling me I'm being too harsh, that he deserves a chance to explain himself properly. My mom suggested marriage counseling, but I can't imagine ever trusting him again. How do you come back from something like this? I'll update if anything significant happens, but for now, I just needed to get this off my chest. Thanks for reading. Update 1 first, I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments on my last post. I never expected it to blow up like it did. These past 2 weeks have been absolute chaos, and I need to get this all out. So, remember how James was suspended from work? Well, that was just the beginning. After HR started their investigation, things snowballed in ways I never imagined. James did end up losing his job, but that's not even the craziest part of what's happened. About 3 days into the investigation, Emma, the woman from the pictures, came forward with her own story. She said she felt guilty after seeing James get suspended and needed to tell the truth. Turns out those pictures I found weren't even the tip of the iceberg. James had been systematically taking pictures with multiple women from different departments over the past year. He had this whole detailed system. He kept spreadsheets tracking dates, locations, and what he called connection ratings. Emma showed HR her own text messages with James where he asked her to rate their encounters and compare them to her past relationships. He said it was for his personal research into modern relationship dynamics. HR found evidence of at least 5 other women he'd photographed in compromising positions. Some of them had no idea he was taking pictures. He'd set up his phone on tables or shelves and recorded entire conversations, documenting everything from first flirting to physical contact. 3 of these women were junior employees who felt pressured because James was in a senior position. The company is now doing a full investigation into possible harassment claims, and they've hired an outside firm to review all harassment policies. When all this came out, James completely lost it. Last Friday, he found out I was having dinner at my parents' house, probably from checking my sister's social media, and showed up unannounced. He was a complete mess, hadn't shaved in days, wearing the same clothes from work, crying about how his life was falling apart. He started rambling about having a photography addiction and how he needed help. He tried to blame it on work stress and his dad's death 2 years ago. My dad, who'd always had a soft spot for James, actually started feeling sorry for him until Mom stepped in and reminded him about all the pictures and the spreadsheets. But here's where it gets even worse. Karen, his mom, is still somehow defending him. She called my mom yesterday and had the audacity to suggest that if I had been more adventurous and open-minded in our marriage, James wouldn't have needed to explore with other women. She said his photo documentation was just his way of processing his feelings and that I should be grateful he was being honest about his struggles instead of just cheating in secret. Mom was so angry she hung up mid-conversation. Sarah, being the amazing sister she is, did some deep diving online. She found something that made my stomach turn. James had been posting some of these pictures on private online forums. Not the explicit ones, but enough to identify the women. He was part of this community of men who called themselves relationship researchers. They would share stories and pictures, giving each other advice about whether to stay married or enjoy the single life. I felt sick reading through the threads where these strangers discussed my marriage like it was some kind of case study. James had shared intimate details about our relationship, things I thought were private between us. I'm still staying with Sarah, but things are getting complicated. Our lease had another 6 months, so I've been paying my share of rent while living here. James somehow tracked down my new workplace. I had changed jobs after everything came out because I couldn't handle being in the same building where he'd taken some of those pictures. He's been bombarding me with emails from different accounts. The messages are all over the place. Sometimes he's apologetic, saying he'll get help and make things right. Other times he's angry, threatening to tell everyone my secrets. I don't even know what secrets he's talking about. I've had to block about 12 different email addresses so far. His sister Rachel reached out yesterday, and surprisingly, she's changed her tune. She was going through some old family photos and found James's old laptop from college. Curiosity got the better of her, and she looked through it. She found similar pictures from when he was dating his ex-girlfriend 6 years ago. She finally realizes this isn't new behavior or a phase, it's a pattern he's been following for years. She actually apologized for defending him earlier and offered to testify if the harassment cases go to court. Some of our mutual friends have started taking sides. A few have admitted they saw James with different women but didn't tell me because they didn't want to get involved or thought it wasn't their place. Others are saying I'm overreacting, that lots of people take pictures nowadays, and then I'm just angry because I got caught looking through his private stuff. One friend even suggested I should be flattered that James cared enough to document everything. I've started seeing a lot of things differently now. Like how James always insisted on being the one to take pictures at family gatherings, or how he had specific folders for every event we attended. He had thousands of pictures of me that I never knew about, taken when I wasn't looking. It makes me feel violated knowing that while I thought we were building a life together, he was treating our marriage like some weird social experiment. The company lawyers have asked me not to post about specifics of the harassment investigation online, so I'll have to be vague about some details. But I'll update again if anything significant happens. Right now, I'm just trying to process everything and figure out how to move forward. Update: 2 things have taken an even darker turn since my last update. Remember those forums where James was posting pictures? Well, one of the women he photographed found them, and what she revealed next shook everyone. Lisa, 27F, who used to work in our IT department, found the pictures when someone sent her an anonymous link. She immediately went to the police because in her pictures, she was clearly unconscious. She's saying James drugged her drink during a company happy hour to take more explicit photos. The police got involved immediately and seized all of James's devices, not just his laptops and phones, but also memory cards, hard drives, and even his old college equipment. What they found was horrifying. There were hundreds of pictures of different women, some dating back to his college days. Most were taken without consent, women sleeping, changing at the gym, or in other private moments. The police are building a serious case against him. So far, 15 women have come forward with similar stories. I've been interviewed by the police twice now. They wanted to know if I ever noticed suspicious behavior during our marriage. Looking back, there were so many red flags I ignored. Like how he always insisted on keeping his old phones and laptops even though they didn't work anymore. Or how he would get weirdly defensive if I picked up his camera, saying I might mess up his settings. He even had a locked cabinet in his home office that he claimed was for protecting his equipment from dust. I never questioned it because, well, he was a photography enthusiast. Now I wonder what was really in that cabinet. The detective handling the case told me they found a hidden compartment in our basement where James kept backup drives of everything. There were folders organized by years, locations, and what he called categories. Some of the files were encrypted, and they're still working on accessing them. The thought that all of this was happening right under my nose, in our home, makes me feel physically sick. James's mom Karen finally stopped defending him after the police showed her some of the evidence. She showed up at Sarah's place unannounced, crying and apologizing for not believing me. She said she found old memory cards in James's childhood bedroom while cleaning, and the timestamps on some pictures went back to his high school days. Apparently, he had been taking inappropriate pictures of his female classmates even then. Too little, too late for her apologies, if you ask me. His sister Rachel is in therapy now, dealing with the realization that her brother isn't who she thought he was. She told me something disturbing. She found pictures of herself in some of James's old files. Nothing explicit, thankfully, but plenty of photos taken without her knowledge, like when she was sunbathing in their backyard or getting ready for parties. She's struggling to process this betrayal. The company where we worked is facing serious criticism for not catching this sooner. Turns out there had been 3 separate complaints about James's behavior in the past 2 years, but they were never properly investigated. One intern had reported feeling uncomfortable with how often he photographed her, but HR dismissed it as a misunderstanding. They've hired an outside firm to review all their harassment policies and are offering counseling services to affected employees. James tried to contact me again last week through his cousin Mike. He wanted to explain his side before the police investigation goes further. Mike said James has been staying at a motel because Karen kicked him out after finding those memory cards. He's apparently been calling everyone he knows, trying to borrow money for his legal fees. Even his best friend from college, who initially defended him, cut contact after seeing some of the evidence. The most surreal part? Some of our old friends are still trying to minimize what he did. They keep saying things like boys will be boys, or at least he didn't actually assault anyone. One couple even suggested that this was just James's way of documenting his life and that everyone takes pictures nowadays. I've cut contact with anyone still trying to defend him. The police investigation is ongoing, but they seem confident about their case. They're particularly interested in the encrypted files and the forum where he shared the pictures. Apparently, this might be connected to a larger investigation involving similar cases in other states. I'll update again when I know more, but right now, I'm just trying to process everything. Every day seems to bring new revelations about the man I thought I knew. The divorce proceedings are moving forward, and my lawyer says given the circumstances, it should be pretty straightforward. Update 3. I think this will be my final update. A lot has happened since my last post, and I want to give you all closure on this situation. James pleaded guilty last week to multiple charges of harassment, invasion of privacy, and unauthorized recording. The evidence was so overwhelming that his lawyer advised him to take a plea deal. He's facing 8 years in prison, though he'll likely serve less with good behavior. The judge was particularly harsh during sentencing, calling his actions a systematic violation of trust and privacy spanning many years. The investigation revealed even more than we initially thought. The encrypted files they found contained pictures dating back 10 years. Some were of his female professors from college, others were of neighbors, babysitters, and even distant family members. The police found over 2,000 images of unsuspecting women. He had them all categorized and labeled with detailed notes about their daily routines, relationships, and personal lives. His guilty plea led to the arrest of 3 other men from that online forum. Turns out they were part of a bigger network that shared similar documentation of women. The FBI is now involved because some of these photos crossed state lines. They're calling it one of the largest cases of organized harassment and privacy violation they've seen. Karen, his mom, tried to remortgage her house to help pay for his legal fees, but the bank denied her loan. She's been calling everyone in the family asking for money. Last week, she showed up at my new workplace. I don't even know how she found the address, begging me to write a character reference letter for James. Said it might help reduce his sentence. I had security escort her out. Rachel, his sister, sent me all the evidence she found of his early behavior. There were journals from his teenage years where he wrote about his photography projects, basically stalking girls from his high school. She's working with a victims advocacy group now, sharing her story to help others recognize warning signs. The divorce was finalized 2 weeks ago. James couldn't contest anything because he's completely broke. All his savings went to legal fees and victim restitution. The judge awarded me the house and car, not that it matters much, I'm selling both. Too many bad memories. I'm moving to Seattle next month. Sarah helped me find a job there with her company's West Coast office. It's a fresh start, far away from all this chaos. Some of our mutual friends have tried to convince me to forgive James, saying he's suffered enough, and that prison will ruin his life. One even suggested I write to him in prison to give him hope for redemption. I blocked them all. The company we worked for reached a settlement with several victims, including Lisa. They've completely overhauled their harassment policies and installed security cameras in all parking areas. HR sent out this long email about their commitment to employee safety, but it feels like too little, too late. James sent me one final letter before starting his sentence. He wrote pages about how he never meant to hurt anyone, how his documentation was just his way of understanding human relationships. He said he hopes someday I'll understand that he did it all for art and research. I didn't respond. The letter went straight into the shredder. Some days I still can't believe this was my life for 5 years. I'm grateful we never had kids. I can't imagine having to explain this to them. The whole experience taught me that sometimes people aren't who they seem to be, and that's okay. What's important is recognizing the truth when you see it and having the strength to walk away. Thank you all for your support throughout this nightmare. I won't be updating again, it's time to close this chapter of my life and move forward.